Hi there. It's Riter Radio. It's episode 247. I'm Brad. And look a little different to you today because I'm cleaning up our act. That's what I'm doing. That's the plan. The plan is to, I'm going to clean up myself sometime this week in time for Brain Vault, the trivia show that starts a week from tonight at the Kaz in South Buffalo. And I feel like we as a community need to put our best face forward. We need to look as good as we can. We need to sound right. We need to say the right things. We need to attract the best possible candidate as the head coach of the Bills. And we're in on this. I would say Bills Mafia. I hate that phrase, but like that's what people. That's the one that they use. But we want to be nice. There are 10 jobs that became available as head coach in the NFL. 3 of them have already been filled. One of them just opened up yesterday. It was here in Buffalo. It happened about, I think 9:30 is when I found out about it. And then I had to do a show. And while I and pretty much everyone I know that's like a broadcaster, at least in my circle, I immediately think of like Bob and Chris Brown and Dan Cave. Who doesn't do any radio stuff anymore, but still, all of us were good at just doing what we do. Jeremy, Shope, Bulldog, Paul Hamilton, all these other people. We're good at the job. We've always been good at the thing we're doing, but we would thrive on breaking news. Like draft day was so much fun. The people at BEN, election day is their draft day. It's just craziness going on, info coming from everywhere. Some of it's real, some of it's not. And you got to put it all together and you just wing it. You've got a team of people and it's awesome. You get pizza. Those are pizza days at radio stations and maybe at TV stations, but you don't want to get stuff on you if you're, Adam Benini. You got to be careful and not get anything on the tie or whatever. Radio, who cares? It's pizza, running around. It's crazy. And it's fun. So, like, breaking news is fun. A coach getting fired is fun. Not in a nice way, I know, but, like, from a work thing, from a work standpoint, that's the good stuff, man. Breaking news is the good stuff. That said, and while I feel I'm equipped to deal with it, I had a whole show planned for yesterday, and then woke up to the news that Sean McDermott was out. I was like, well, let's throw that out the window. And I think, you got very real, I'm still trying to figure it out kind of reaction. And, I'm still kind of trying to figure it out. But 24 hours of perspective really changes my ability to talk about the thing that happened, which is the firing of Sean McDermott. And in trying to think about what made it feel different, why it was so strange, because I've been through a bunch of these. I really have. I got hired in radio in 1997, and I've told this story a bunch, but like the first day that I was left alone to run, I wasn't alone, but I was the board operator, the person who pushes the buttons, the person who makes the sound go out. Like without that person, nothing happens. And back in the day, we didn't have automation. So you needed a person. If you wanted a radio station, you needed a person there at all times. Somebody's got to push the button. Somebody's got to play the commercials. Somebody's got to switch you over, even if you're carrying ESPN radio, which we used to do overnights. You still needed somebody to, okay, there's the feed for ESPN radio. All right, bring that up, bring this down, play this commercial. All right, we're back. Okay, go to news. You do that. There's all the stuff that had to be done. I got hired in August 97, and I don't know the first day that I worked. I'm going to look up when this event took place. Hold on. I've got a bunch of stuff ready, and then I decided to go down this road for something that I don't have ready, but that's all right. Let's see. When did the car crash happen? August 31. Okay. So story checks out. I don't know what day I started in August, but on the last day of August, I got a phone call, and there are only 2 people in the building. Well, there are more in the building. There was somebody down the hall at KISS, and there was somebody down the hall maybe at KB or something. as far as WGR was concerned, and it was not a sports station at the time, it was News Talk Sports. Because John Otto was still around, and Bowerly, and I don't even remember who else was on during the day. Cliff Smith was on during the day. And we had some national stuff, and we had Chuck, that was the Chuck Dickerson. That was the sports part of it. And then we had weekend sports talk, but it was a general radio station back when you could be that. You could be less specific on what you were doing. And you train for a few days, I don't know, a few different times. I'd sit there and learn how to run the board. I'd watch Greg Bauk run the board, and then the next time I'd come in, I'd run the board for a little bit while Greg Bauk watched me, and he'd help me out with stuff and all that. And anyway, the first day that I was left there to do a show on my own, Princess Di died, or at least was in the crash. I think she died on the scene, but regardless, massive story took place. The good news was I didn't have to talk. I just had to push a lot of buttons and figure out what was going on with the news girl. There's two of us working. It was me and Emily Story, who I believe is still in. She might be in TV news. I remember she went to Rochester. I don't know. Lost track of her. But it was me and her, and Princess Di died. And she was not. I mean, she's my age, and I had just gotten there. So she couldn't have been there more than 6 months. And I couldn't have been there more than 4 hours on my own. And Princess Di died. And we got through it. But the good news was she was reading things that were coming across the AP wire and following up. And she had work to do. But she was just reporting. It wasn't like, all right, quickly, brand new broadcaster, what's your opinion on what just happened? Like, I don't know. What? I just got here. I don't even know what buttons to push. But that's that was the worst end of it. It was breaking news. I didn't know how to do breaking news yet. Now I'm at the point where, okay, throw anything at me. Oh, we've got something new. All right, I'll just talk. I can go from there and continue and get through. And yes, I'll be better if you give me a break for 5 minutes or an hour or a day, and I'll have more perspective on what I'm talking about here. But I can do it. The thing I was saying about draft day or election day or whatever is when you've got a whole team of people assembled. So 11 o'clock yesterday, actually it worked out. The first half hour was just sort of the panicky thing, but I was doing a show the whole time. I couldn't just sit and process and think. We could process out loud. And I did have Jay Skursky on, which was awesome. And then I had Scott Wilson on, which was awesome. And so I had people to have the conversation with, but I didn't have time to sit with my own thoughts on what yesterday was. And I also hadn't spoken with the masses. I had my wife. I hadn't spoken with my wife much. I mean, I found out he was fired when I was upstairs. I'm like, McDermott's out. She's like, what? And I was like, all right, I got to go. That was our whole conversation. But 24 hours later, I think I understand why yesterday felt so weird and different from all of the... I mean, I've been through a lot of coaching stuff just with the Bills. Starting in August 97, that means that I dealt with the final season of Marv Levy. And I wasn't out and about covering the team very often, but I was around the coverage of the team. So I've been in it. Honestly, it's not that much different from right now. I'm not out covering the team, but I watch everything they do, and I know all the people who cover the team. So I know who to believe and, how much to lean into one person's perspective and how much to ignore another person's, and that kind of I know that. So give me 24 hours of research. And by research, I mean talking, listening, reading. And I'm going to land on a different perspective. And I think this is what it is. Here's why yesterday felt different. This is, I believe, the first time we had a coach without a sort of universal, this guy's got to go thing happening. And then he went. Usually, you go into the offseason, and, man, we went through it with the drought. I mean, every year, there was no year where it's like, well, that guy has to come back because here we go. That never happened. It was usually, do you think they're ready to fire him yet? They just hired him. Been here 2 years. Well, the Bills are cheap. Are they willing to spend the money to pay out the rest of this guy's contract while also bringing in a new guy. Like that's kind of the way it's gone. Either things were going well, so you didn't have to think about it, which was rare. Or it was like, all right, it was his first year. Usually after a first year, you go 4-12. You're still coming back for year two. Everywhere in the NFL, not just because the Bills were an organization that's considered to be kind of cheap. Anywhere you would go, you would look. If you're a first-year coach, you get some wiggle room. You'd have to do something really bad to be hired and fired after one season in the NFL, Bills or otherwise. You get into, and I kind of want to walk through this because I brought up the list. Nothing's ever felt like this before. This is the first. I will say, well, there's there's one thing that felt a little bit like it. I'm going to walk through the Buffalo Bills head coach history from 1997, when I started in radio, through today. 97 was the end of the Marv Levy era. And I want to just sort of give you my thoughts on what it felt like at the time. And this is just my memory of things. And this is vibes as opposed to like facts. But here's what I recall. At the end of 1997, Marv Levy stepped down. He retired. It was sad. It was tear-filled. But it was retirement. It was, I've been doing this for a long time. He was 72 years old or something at the time. It made sense. Jim Kelly left the year before. With both Kelly and Marv Levy, it felt to this young reporter, I wasn't a reporter, I was just a guy who worked at a station, but it felt to me as though it wasn't fully intentional. It was Kelly in decline. They had drafted Todd Collins. He suffered the concussion against Clyde Simmons. They got knocked out of the playoffs by Jacksonville. It felt like the end. And it seemed as though the organization may have had a hand in saying, and this is just what I felt. I honestly don't know anything more now about why Jim Kelly retired when he did than I did then. But it's always felt as though, yeah, it was about time. It felt like it was about time. And he reluctantly walked. Did he reluctantly walk because the concussion sucked and he didn't want to deal with that anymore? And he could see the decline of the team and it was never going to be what it used to be? Maybe. But a lot of the core was still there. So 96 is the end of Kelly. Tearful announcement of his retirement. I remember that being pretty painful to watch. But it was all right because we had Todd Collins ready to go. Just, the next one. Just keep moving ahead. The next great. So the next year, Marv Levy's out. And that felt like, Kelly's gone. New era, new Collins era. Also felt like maybe Marv went, I'm not sticking around with this Collins thing. This is not going to improve my legacy whatsoever. So that happened. Marv steps down. They immediately, I don't remember if there was like a lengthy search or if they just announced that Wade Phillips would replace Marv Levy as the head coach. And the good times continued to roll to a certain extent under Wade Phillips. Oh, I have a quick Marv Levy note that I discovered in the minimal research I did for this conversation. All right, I'm going to ask this question. This is a trivia question that everyone knows. Not everyone, but if you're a Bills fan, this is just sort of one of those things. For what college did Marv Levy play football? He was a defensive back at a college where he played football, he ran track, and he played basketball. That one's hard to picture. Marv Levy, because I never saw young Marv, so just Marv in a basketball uniform, funny to me. So I'm picturing him, not now, but like in the 90s. I'm picturing, 62-year-old Marv Levy. Go Bills in basketball getup. I have always thought it would be a lot more fun if, like in baseball, coaches also had to wear the uniform of the team. And this would have been like the perfect example. If Marv was a basketball coach and he had to dress like a basketball player, that would have been fun. Anyway, Marv Levy, we all know, went to a specific college, a very small, little-known school that we know from him, and we know because Fred Jackson, former Bills running back, also went there. Okay? You know the name of that school. That's one. We know where he went to grad school, earning a Master's of Arts in English History. All right, the two answers we're looking for here are Coe College in Iowa and Harvard. So that's what made Marv so interesting. He's always got these quotes from history and a lot of Churchill. He majored in, earned a Master's in English History, and then came and coached, Darryl Talley, which is just no knock on Darryl Talley. I just don't think he's a big English history guy. But, famously he did that. So those are the two schools we associate with Marv Levy. However, where was he initially recruited? He spent one semester as a defensive back at another school that we feel, I think, pretty connected to in Western New York, specifically over the last 8 years. Wyoming. Marv Levy was a DB at Wyoming. I'm going to put an asterisk next to everything right here and say, everything I'm doing, I'm just getting from Wikipedia because none of this actually matters. But I trust that nobody broke into Marv Levy's Wikipedia page and pretended that he went to Wyoming for one semester. He was there as a defensive back. The coach who recruited him left. He was displeased and exhausted by the following coach's round-the-clock training regimen and transferred to Coe College following a single semester. So how about that? A Marv Levy Wyoming connection. We love Wyoming now, right? We thought nothing about it. There was a caller that used to call into GR as the Wyoming Cowboy, and it seemed like the most random school in America to be a fan of. And as it turns out, now we like it. Now we've got people walking around in Western New York wearing Wyoming football jerseys, brown and yellow Wyoming football jerseys. Who would have thought? All right, so Marv Levy out. He retires end of the 1997 season. In comes Wade Phillips. Wade Phillips was there for 3 seasons. We didn't know how good we had it, as you'll be able to see here. He went in 48 games, he went 29-19 for a .604 winning percentage. That puts him it puts him right under Marv Levy, ultimately. Marv Levy, 12 years, .615 win percentage. Wade Phillips, 3 years, .604 win percentage. Made the playoffs twice. Missed the playoffs in his third year. Refused to fire his special teams coach and was fired. That one was a little weird, but I think all of us had a Marv Levy glory years hangover. I forgot that I told Paul to call me, and then I didn't even look at my phone. Paul, I'm sorry. If you're listening right now, I'm sorry. I bet I have a missed call from Paul. I just looked and saw it was 10:36. Oh, I don't have a missed call from Paul. All right. Paul Pack's going to call in right around now. We're going to keep the phone where I can see it because I totally forgot. I didn't forget he was coming on. I just lost track of time, and it's 10:34, and I told him to call at 10:30. Yeah, he'll call soon. All right. I'm going to put where's my little phone stand? There we go. Yes. It was very handy. See how the thing, you can have it on the thing, it's connected, and then look at that. Isn't that cool? All right. So we'll hear from Paul momentarily. There he is. All right. I'm going to make my point. We're going to pick up on the Marv Levy part. All right. I'm going to hit answer, but I'm not going to say hello to him yet because I haven't played his thing yet. And he's got a thing. Here's the thing.
Let's check in with Riter Radio's senior bowling correspondent, Paul Peck.
Paul, if it's okay with you, I'd like to skip most of the bowling today and maybe talk football. Is that all right?
Yeah, that's good. My only bowling connection is I am wearing my Beat the Champ hoodie right now.
Nice.
It is my best snow blowing gear to deal with 2 feet of snow in my driveway today.
Yeah, I was going to say, we've got a snow day for no reason. Again, we get that a lot in Amherst. I don't understand the concept of canceling school because you think it might snow. There's nothing. It's cold out, but there's no problem here. I haven't considered even a shovel, and I live, 10 miles north of you, which is crazy.
Yeah, well, you're welcome to come on out here and attack the wall of snow at the end of my driveway today.
What time do you think you have to leave your house to get to the UB basketball game tonight?
Well, apparently it's okay up by you.
Yeah.
So I'm not as worried as I was at some point yesterday. Like, geez, how long is it going to take me? How long is this 25-minute drive actually going to take me? So I'm feeling pretty good at the moment. Things look relatively clear out here in the South Town.
Okay,
So
that's good to know.
so maybe I'll give myself an hour.
Okay,
Just to be safe.
that's
so
not bad. Not bad.
You were on a roll, so I didn't want to call and interrupt you because you were on a nice roll.
Well, you know what? I was on a roll, but then I realized, I saw the time and went, oh crap. But it's all right. I've got until noon to get through this because I want to talk about the difference between. I'm going to spoil my own point, but I'll make it gradually. We haven't the closest we've been to this ever and I started covering the team in '97. The closest we've been to waking up and being like, "What? This guy got fired," is Wade Phillips, and that wasn't even really the same thing because back then we were all spoiled by the success, and I thought, well, this isn't good enough, even though it was pretty much the same thing. We just weren't okay with missing the playoffs, and it went back to the Flutie Johnson thing, and and losing that game.
Wade got fired because they had changed general managers. And
Right.
all along, I had been told that Tom Donahoe was not a fan, so that there likely was going to be a coaching change. So Wade was kind of doomed anyway.
Can you imagine?
By all indications.
Perspective is what it is, but can you imagine being the kind of person who says, I'm not a fan of Wade Phillips, and then hiring Greg Williams? Like, that tells me everything I need to know about you as a person. Even though I liked Donahoe a lot more than I think most people did when he was here. But man, that's just a bad piece of judgment right there.
Yes. By the way, before I forget, this is like my ultimate Riter mind going a million different directions and interrupting your show here.
It's fine.
When you mentioned the breaking news part about being in the meeting, and there's an adrenaline rush that does not equal. You also mentioned it was a pizza day. I have an amazing news pizza day story, and I'll make it super quick.
You don't have to make it quick.
You said,
I got all day.
Election day was like the news department's, Super Bowl, like that was the big day,
sure.
Right? And those of us in the sports department would always sort of let them order all the pizza and wings, and we would go slide in there after all the news people had got them, because in those days, sports, like you got like a minute for sports and you didn't have anything to do. So when I first started Channel 4, and I won't use any names, there was a long-time newspaper and television reporter who was one of the TV reporters at Channel 4. And when they would order pizza, Channel 4 would generally order it from a rather famously notable West Side pizza place.
Okay.
That to this day has always been rumors that it had a connection to organized crime, right? I think everybody can kind of figure all this out, right?
Yeah.
So, and because that veteran news reporter had been on that beat when he was a longtime news reporter, he flat out refused to ever eat the pizza and wings. It was just an amazing, like, aren't you hungry? Like, nope, not doing it. Like, and then you found out the story why. Like, that's awesome. That is awesome dedication.
Wow, that's impressive. It's a terrible choice because that food is delicious, and I'm glad that there's a Williamsville location as well. But bad choice, but good to be principled, I guess.
Yes. All right. Let's go. Let's get back to coaching changes.
Sure. So this to me is the first time where, people are bitter. I come at it from the perspective of I got hired at WGR in 1997 when Chuck Dickerson was there. So I was used to people calling for firing. Anybody who stepped in, if you weren't going to the Super Bowl, you weren't doing it well enough. And we were trying to replace that whole era, and we were trying to replace Marv Levy, and we're trying to replace Jim Kelly. And it just, the frustration of 16 years of no playoffs, ultimately, where we got pretty much any coach who's been fired, I've heard, fire this guy, fire a zillion times before he actually got fired. And the question was always, are they willing to?
Right?
What's that?
It's what we do now.
Well, it's what we do now.
A fourth down call and it's fire the coach.
Sure, but over the history, the last 30 years or so, it's not just now. It was, Greg Williams needed to be fired certainly by his second year. I mean, the collective wanted him out. Mike Mularkey, Dick Duran, any of these coaches, it has not been a question of should the Bills fire him, it's will they spend the money to fire him? And there's always it's been lingering like, well, obviously they could do better at coach, but are they willing to do it yet? This one isn't that. Of course, to your point of this is what we do now. Yeah, of course, there's some of that out there with McDermott. But by and large, we're talking about the playoffs 8 times in 9 years. We're talking about the division 5 consecutive years. We're talking about 6 consecutive trips to the divisional round. By no means is it obvious that this guy can't be the coach anymore, which is what made it feel so altogether strange when we woke up to the news yesterday.
Well, but it's the opposite of, when the coach fails, it's an obvious decision to move on, right? And what happened here was McDermott failed to win a Super Bowl or get to a Super Bowl or reach a level that people expected him to reach, right? So that's ultimately why, among the reasons why, right?
Sure.
It's the opposite, right? Well, you turned the program around, you've taken us to the playoffs every year, but it's not been good enough, right? Because we should be in the Super Bowl and you didn't, or you can't get us there, right? Honestly, when these rumors started to sort of percolate, Brad, even before yesterday, my feeling was like there's just a shelf life for coaches in the NFL, right? Like there comes a point in time when you've been there too long, the message is stale, the fans get angry, they're sick of your face, they nitpick every little thing you do, they forget where you were 7 years before because now they're like, hey, Andy Reid is an example of that, right? Mm-hmm. Harbaugh clearly is an example of that. And then the subset of all that is, are you the right guy to get us to take the next step, right? And the best example there was Tony Dungy being fired in Tampa to be replaced by Gruden, and then they go to the Super Bowl, right? So there's 2 categories there. So you started to feel like there was a feeling like McDermott was never going to get you to that next level, right? But what started to come out now, since yesterday, starts to make me feel like this was a little bit of a power struggle that might have gone on, which is kind of unrelated to any of that other stuff, right? If you just wanted to fire McDermott, you're like, hey, we need a new voice, we need a new direction, we need a new idea. Like, that's fine. I don't always agree with it, but I understand it, right? Yep. But now you're starting to get the sense like that this was Bean wanting more power, and the guy who got hired before him, who essentially was the one that kind of played a role in getting him hired, had to get out of the way for that to happen.
Yeah. I don't know any other way to read it, honestly. Did I wake up yesterday thinking, I hope Sean McDermott is fired? No. When I heard that he was fired, did it bother me a lot? No. Because I looked at it and I thought, all right, let's say there are 3 people. Why didn't they win the Super Bowl this year? Why haven't they been to the Super Bowl? The 3 people we're going to look at are the coach, the general manager, and the quarterback. Okay, quarterback's good. No vote. No vote on quarterback. Quarterback stays. Okay. Coach, I like him. Fix the culture. Turn this into a team of people who are, pulling for each other and just there's a family vibe there. A lot of teams pretend they've got it. A lot of teams talk about that sort of thing. You can see it on display. It's legit. Is that top to bottom the 53-man roster? No, but when it's not, they trade you to the Texans. It's going well with Diggs, and then it's not going well. Like, all right, well, you can't ruin the vibe in here. You got to go. And, yeah, you're a better player than whatever we're going to have on the field, but it's killing what we're doing. So you move on from him. I like that about the coach. And then, that's the coach and GM in conjunction. You know what? Let's just think of it that way. This term McBean has been around for a while as if they're one person. Clearly they're not. We've seen some problems there over the last couple of years, and specifically this year. Just never like a fist fight or like a super verbal altercation, but little subtle jabs that weren't there prior about, whether it's whether it's Bean calling into a radio station talking about how the defense is the problem and not the offense. It's like that's him. That's a shot at McDermott.
Or the Darius Slay, Jamarcus Ingram.
Right. Yeah. I was going to get to that.
Think
right.
about Darius Slay might have changed the entire direction of this franchise.
Sure. And as it turns out, Darius Slay would have fixed. Let's just pretend Darius Slay would have fixed things. Best case scenario. Jamarcus Ingram still being here would have been status quo. That would have been okay. And then instead you got the other one, which was no Slay, no Ingram, no reason. And you heard from McDermott on that. He never said, screw you, Brandon Bean, but it was implied. There was something split there. So anyway,
there's some reports floating out today about a meeting a month ago between McDermott, Bean, and Pegula, where essentially McDermott criticized the talent level. Like, you're not giving me enough talent to win. You're telling me I need to win. You're telling me no Mahomes, no Burrow, I need to win the Super Bowl, but you're not giving me enough talent. And the report, and again, I don't know the accuracy of it, and I don't want to take it as gospel, but the report says that Bean and Pegula did not like that, which is kind of crazy because it's pretty damn obvious, right?
Yeah.
Like, the talent is not there. The injuries have had partly to do with that, but the talent is not where it is. So whether that triggered this or prompted, and you know what, Brad, the other thing I'll say to you is I learned this lesson long ago, mostly as it related to Ralph Wilson, which was when the franchise does something that on the surface doesn't seem to make a lot of sense or was unexpected or you didn't see coming, you can almost always blame the owner for it, right? And that was kind of a Ralph thing. Ralph would walk in one day and go, I want that guy out of here, right? It didn't make any sense or whatever.
Yeah.
But that's a lesson that I learned, and I think there's some of that involved with this. I think you're seeing it around the league now as owners become more powerful, more egotistical, bigger investments, more revenue, more money to be able to write off whatever the coaching salaries that have to be written off right now, right? Like, that used to be a concern.
Sure.
Shoot, if we fire the coach, I got to pay out $5 million in coaching salary buyouts. Well, now $5 million is nothing when you make $300 million as a franchise, right? So there's more willingness to do that. So I think all of these things have some role. It was, did Bean plant the seed with Pegula that we need to make a change, and then all of a sudden it happens? Like egos, man. It's the NFL is all about egos and power, right? Especially now, when owners used to be sportsmen, and now they're in there telling you who to draft. So a lot of all these things combined are usually what lead to major decisions being made.
Yes. I was thinking about, like, let's say nothing changed and it was the same GM, and it's not nothing changing. There's going to be turnover on the roster, but if it's the same GM and the same coach and the same quarterback, and I work for ESPN and it's next August and I'm in charge of telling you my predictions for who's going to go to the Super Bowl and win the Super Bowl, I'm going to look like a fool at this point if I say, no, I think this is Buffalo's year. Like, I think even like America's getting bored with the failure of the Bills, and I'm getting slightly bored with the failure of the Bills. It sounds crazy, but I'd like to remind people that the Bills' comeback game against Houston was not on television. It was not sold out. The reason it wasn't sold out is we were used to winning, and I don't know. We get complacent. We take it for granted. People didn't go to that game. I had to go to my friend's house who had an uncle with the big satellite dish, and they had to cut branches off of a tree to make sure it was pointed at the set. And I saw the game. I saw it on TV, but I didn't go to it, and neither did other people. And I couldn't watch it at home because it wasn't sold out. Because as exciting as all of it was, as cool, we started when things started going well here for the Bills. I was telling my kids, and we were all reminiscing about people selling bootleg merchandise on every street corner and how crazy all of that felt at the time. And that kind of came back. It came back with the Sabres when they got hot for a couple of years as well. Or just, they're painting gold pathways on the street. It feels different in town. And as exciting and as awesome as it was, it feels in that moment like that's the way it's always been. But it isn't. And let's use the Sabres as the example. When the Sabres were red hot, people, and a couple of years after, a couple years removed from the runs to the Eastern Conference Finals. I think there were people, younger fans, who hadn't been through it with the Bills and didn't know. They thought that's what it was like all the time and that the arena would always be packed. But coming out of that lockout, I saw Sidney Crosby's first game in Buffalo at a half-empty arena. Later that year, people treated it like the place had been packed the whole time. We are fickle, man. We're a good sports town. But our attention, I haven't watched a full Sabres game in 15 years. Not quite that number, and it's not quite, I haven't watched a full game, but pretty close. Like, I don't tune in on a regular basis. I'm interested with the run that they've been on this year, and especially because it's under Lindy, but we have other things to take our attention away, and it's not always going to be craziness with the Bills. It's not. Luckily, they're able to build a stadium during a period like this, but you don't always keep the momentum with the fans goes away. So you go into next year, and Josh is there, and Sean McDermott is there, and Brandon Beane is there. There's a new stadium, and that's something too, but there's a level of excitement that has dipped a little because this was the year, and last year was the year too, and that was the year too. Something had to change. I get that something had to change. Josh isn't going anywhere. I don't think that changing out the general manager in the moment gets me pumped for next year, that fixes it for next year. The GM is the guy that fixes it in time for next year's Super Bowl, because that's the plan. The clock is ticking on Josh's career. So what can you do? I don't know. Change the vibe on the field. Seems like the shortest route. It's a shorter route than changing the GM. And even as I'm saying it, I might be wrong on this, but as far as changing the vibe of the team, to just tweak it a little, because we're not trying to blow it up, just tweak it a little and give it a new energy. Head coach seems like the right position to attack, and that's ignoring.
Yeah, but you're gonna blow it up. Like, there's an element of it's going to be blown up. You're gonna have a new head coach. You're likely going to have new coordinators, but you might have a completely new coaching staff that's now going to say, well, these aren't the kind of players that I necessarily want to run my system. So that's the fear in all this, right? And that's where I get it. We need a new coach and give me the shiny new thing. And I'm like, hey, just be careful. This is working pretty well, right? Like, aside from a few key injuries, maybe the Bills are still playing. There's always the fear that it's going to be worse. Now, there are enough examples like Jacksonville where it's better, right? It happens, but that's, you got to make the right decision on who you're gonna hire. The last thing I'll say to you on this is again, the promoting Beane on the day you fire McDermott tells me this was not a decision made yesterday morning or Sunday, right? Like, this was in the works. And they were waiting for the right time to do it, right? And again, like any smart football fan, read that press release and goes, oh, that's interesting, right? Because the structure had been the structure, but now the structure is way different. So this is something that they were waiting for the failure to happen because somebody had decided, whether it was Beane telling Pagula telling Beane, whichever it was, the decision had been made that we're making a coaching change, minus winning the Super Bowl.
Right. Yeah, or maybe minus getting to this. Maybe that would have, if they won 2 more games, maybe they say, all right, we can't do it right now. But for sure it was in the works. I felt like, leading into the Jacksonville game, John Harbaugh is out in Baltimore, and the report comes out that he's waiting for the end of the weekend. I'm like, oh, that's Buffalo. Like there's some buzz there. And it was Green Bay, but they got knocked out, and he didn't go there. So that was Buffalo. The more that I think about it.
Wouldn't be surprised if the Harbaugh move made Terry Pagula think that this is okay. Right? Like they looked around and see what other people in the league are doing, and that might have been the rubber stamp to go, yeah, this is my winningest coach in team history, but I'm going to make a move on him now. Well, because look what Baltimore did.
I was going through doing stuff for the podcast last night. Like every episode I have, I take the transcript of it, I paste it into AI, and then I have AI spit out a 2-paragraph summary of what the transcript was. And then I post that as show notes. And I was organizing stuff last night, and I saw my show notes from the day after Harbaugh was fired, and I started the show by saying, I've never thought of firing Sean McDermott until I heard that John Harbaugh got fired. One, hey, I didn't know you could do that. You could take a guy who wins all the time and just get rid of him. And then 2, I might want to change too, and I would want to change to somebody who's been there and done that, and that would be the guy. So I might fire McDermott because Harbaugh's available. Now, that obviously isn't exactly how it played out, but that's what got my attention. Like, oh, we can do this now? You can take a good head coach. Mike Tomlin can resign. That's a good coach. Great. Get over the top recently? No, but respectable. And, that relationship ended, and the Harbaugh relationship ended. And that's the first time I really opened my mind to the idea that McDermott might be replaceable in this moment if we're trying to take the next step. And, the Dungy thing always comes up. You ever think how much Tony Dungy must hate John Gruden? Like, I mean, how many years? That was in 2002.
Well, Dungy got his Super Bowl, so I'm sure, maybe that doesn't hurt as bad.
But 23 years later, it's still cited as. Remember how Dungy sucked, and then they couldn't get there, and then they replaced him, and 10 seconds later,
remember
they were Super Bowl
Dungy
champions?
Couldn't get a job? Remember how Dungy interviewed for like a dozen jobs and didn't get any of them?
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of Tony Dungy that gets cited on this stuff all the time.
Yeah, that stinks. That stinks for him. He's a good coach. But, whatever. So ultimately, I'm not mad, but I'm very curious to see where this whole thing goes. Because every name I hear, I'm like, nah, not that. Nah, not that.
Yeah.
So
before the Bean thing came about, I wondered if Joe Brady leaving had something to do with this. Like, they didn't want to lose Joe Brady. They didn't want to lose Josh's guy, right?
In the same way that they did after 13 seconds, I'm under the impression that I've heard from people that if it was, if Bean had his way, that would have been McDermott out and Dable promoted. Instead, McDermott stays and Dable goes to the Giants. So
that's very interesting as we look forward now. So clearly the Brady thing wasn't. They weren't, but I think Joe Brady's a legitimate candidate here, right? I mean, let's not kid ourselves. This next head coach has to have Josh's stamp of approval, right? You got two guys in Brady and Dable that would easily get that, right?
Sure.
I listen to Scott complain all the time about what Dable did with the Giants, and that scares me a little bit, that he just might not be a head coach. Now, being the head coach of the Giants and being the head coach of the Bills are kind of different scenarios, and you have to approach them differently. So maybe he's the guy. And if you're telling me that's true, what you heard after 13 seconds, then that makes me feel like, man, maybe Dable really is this guy to come in here. But so again, we talk about blowing it up. If you promote Brady or you bring Dable back, you're not blowing it up. If you're going to go hire Clint Kubiak or one of these hot young coordinators, then you're blowing it up, right? You're going to start off with a guy with very little connection to Josh, who's going to want to have a completely different staff. So I'll be very curious to see where all this goes. I'm not convinced that Dable is the slam dunk that people think he will be or should be, right? I just don't know, right? I don't know whether he's a head coach or not. But I do know that they think very highly of him. Terry Pagula does, Brandon Bean does. So that's an easy sell, to the owner if that's where you want to go. So, again, you look around the league, it's all these names being thrown around, or all these guys in their 30s, right? Davis Webb is being talked
That's
about
crazy.
as
Crazy
a head coach in Kent. Now, again, there's another guy with ties to Josh Allen, right? So, would you do that? I don't know, right? But, the Liam Combs of the world and the Mike McDonalds that have had this incredible success now make you not hesitate as much when you want to hire a guy who's 31, 32, 33 years old without a lot of experience. So again, look around the league. What are other owners doing? What's worked? That could very well be here. It's really interesting to me, and I just don't have any real feel for where they're going to go. If you really wanted me to say I got to put a $20 bill down on who the head coach is going to be, I'm going to tell you it's Joe Brady, because I don't think they want to lose him.
How about Brady as the head coach and Dable comes back as the offensive coordinator to take a break from the pressure of being a head coach in New York City? I don't think – I think guys do that. Guys go from head coach right back down to coordinator and go, nah, I'm good here. This is fine.
Right. I don't know if there's – can Brian Dable run Joe Brady's offense? Because you're not making Joe Brady the head coach to have him bring someone to run a different offense in.
Maybe
So
you
I
are, though.
don't-
Maybe you are. Maybe you are because you think that Dable was perfect as your offensive coordinator with Josh Allen, and you think that he also is kind of a wild man that you don't want in charge of the whole thing, but you respect. No, I'm not kidding. You respect Joe
No,
Brady for having it all together, and he can have some input on the offense. But the idea is, I want somebody. Look, who is the perfect? All right, Paul. I'm not trying to stump you here. Who is the best overall head coach that we've been around that is now in Kansas?
Yeah, Lance
Leipold.
yeah.
Lance Leipold,
Because he's a CEO.
is a CEO. And if I think the knock on Dable would be that while he is just a cool, fun, intelligent dude to be around, he doesn't have it buckled up in like a CEO type of manner. As Scott said, he's the guy in the locker room with the whiskey and the cigar. You can get to that point. That's cool. But if you need somebody to run it, but you still need the wild man there to do his thing, and I'm not saying he's not capable. He was the Giants head coach for 4 years. But the problems weren't like, oh, he's not smart enough to do this. He just didn't have it together. There were behavioral problems, and that's discipline issues. Like that kind of stuff was going on there. Some people are meant for certain roles, and maybe Brady's not. I don't know him at all. Like, what is it that he's got this? We've watched his play calling and his game planning and stuff. I don't see like, oh my God, this guy is a revolutionary offensive mind. I see a guy who's got it together and is organized and is making things work. Like maybe he's the organizational guy who's a leader, and Dable's the wild man who's the offensive coordinator. I don't think that's nuts.
Well, I would rebut you and tell you what Joe Brady did with zero wide receiver talent was pretty damn revolutionary, right? Like he figured out how to take a tight end, running back, slot receiver offense and score 30 points a game. That's pretty damn amazing because that's not what happens in the NFL, right? So I give Joe Brady more credit. Like, again, you can't win with the Bills wide receivers. They didn't try. They figured out how to get around that. They figured out how to make tight ends and running backs and hook and lateral plays work for a team. Like, that's pretty damn revolutionary and innovative to me. But again, like you said, what you never know is that Joe Brady's lane and not being a head coach, because then is he going to want to be the play caller, right? We've seen that sometimes work, sometimes not with head coaches, right? So, I think the biggest step to me in covering the NFL for so long was these guys get hired because of what they do as coordinators on the field, and then they become head coaches, and most of the time the reality is like you've got 45 other jobs to do. You can't be the play calling X and O coordinator anymore, right? And now some guys do make it work, right? But in general, that you have to be the boss, right? Not of your offense or your defense. You have to be the boss of the whole team. You have to deal with the media. You have to deal with player behavior, like travel, like all that stuff that has to fall under the head coach. And that, I think, is where a lot of guys fail. Now, maybe it's different now. Maybe some of these young guys that have pulled it off have started to establish a newer trend where these guys are good enough to do it. But it's always the risk, right? It's always the risk when you're going to hire a first-time head coach and he still wants to be in charge of his side of the unit. Like, that's a lot. It's a lot to do.
It's two different jobs. Like running a team is a different job from calling plays and organizing an offense or organizing a defense. And so you never know. And that, again, back to Lance, it's my favorite thing about that hire. I remember talking to Scott about it on the podcast, way back then. Said there's a chance that UB just hired the best coach in America because they didn't hire some guy who's been fired from somewhere else, and they didn't hire somebody who's never done it before. They hired a guy who has been unbelievable at beating the competition, just at a different level. But it's still football, and he's bringing all his friends with him. Let's try it. Yep. There's a chance.
Yeah,
and
well,
it turns out.
Look at what happened last night, right? Okay. Isn't that exactly what we're talking about?
Well, yes, that's exactly what I'm leading to. There have been rumblings about Cignetti potentially going to the NFL. And I thought
he said he wasn't interested. He said that he was asked about that within the last week. Now, whether that's always true or not, but he seemed pretty adamant to say, I'm a college guy, I'm not interested.
Yes.
But
I know.
We'll see.
Right. What I'm saying is that's a guy who very clearly knows how to run a football program, who very clearly knows how to evaluate talent. And it's a guy whose contract window has opened. He gets to renegotiate now at Indiana. That was just by getting to the championship game. And he just reworked the deal, I think Scott said months ago. There were rumblings a week or two ago that he might be a candidate for head coaching jobs. Whether he considers himself one or not, he seems like the kind of guy who might answer a phone call. I'm not ruling that out because that, to me, is the situation where you're getting hasn't been fired, hasn't failed, has only succeeded, hasn't done it at this particular level yet, but that's the kind of guy you can go get. And I'm going to bring my wife into this conversation. She says yesterday she's all mad because she's used to the old days. She's like, well, who can we afford? Who can we even bring in? It's like whoever they pay is going to make less than Dawson Knox did this year. Like that's not even money's not even a factor when it comes to hiring an NFL head coach anymore. So I'm not saying he's coming. I'm just saying like that is the closest to the best hire I've seen was UB hiring Lance Leipold. And it was because they said, you've been successful, bring it up here and see how that translates to this level. And it worked great, so much so that we didn't get to keep him, and now he's in Kansas. But it worked because it wasn't, hey, it's a coordinator. His offense is great. Let's make him a head coach and see how he does at a completely different job. This is a head coach with tremendous success. I don't know. I'm not ruling that out.
It would certainly be intriguing. There's always a fear that if you've never been in the NFL, and I don't believe Cignetti has ever been an assistant in the NFL, like that, I know they're football coaches, but I think they're very, very different jobs. And I think you haven't seen a lot of college guys succeed in the NFL just because it's a different job. They may both be coaches, but they're very different jobs. So I'd be a little hesitant on jumping into the feel-good Curt Cignetti story. I would much prefer a no-name, long-time NFL guy that we've never heard of before, who has learned through the ranks of the NFL, and I think that's what you're kind of seeing. Again, I always get it always annoys me, like, you got to win the press conference. No, you don't. You got to win games, right? Like, who cares if it's a name that people know when they first hear it or not? Like that dies out after 2 days, right?
Yeah.
So I hope that that's not part of what this is all about. Is making people feel good about the hire. Because you and I have seen plenty of hires over the years that made you feel good, and they wowed you with the press conference, and then 6 months into the job, you couldn't wait to get them the hell out of town.
Yeah, I don't remember the last time I watched a press conference and didn't come away with it going, I like this guy. That's exactly. Not what it is every single time.
Again, it's super intriguing. You have the best quarterback in the league, so team people are going to want this job, right? Like, there are holes to fill. I do feel like the window is starting to close on this team, right? I mean, in the NFL, those windows don't stay open for long. And I feel like it's started to close on the Bills. Now, can you open it back up again? Sure, but you might have to go towards the bottom to come back towards the top. And how do you juggle that when you have Josh Allen, who maybe has 5 more years of his prime left? Like, you're trying desperately to keep that window open. So that has to be part of this consideration as well too. But it's a very critical time in the fate of this franchise, right? You have this amazing quarterback. He's going to be 30 years old. He's going to have to learn how to adjust the way he plays, which I think he will. But, you've won with what you think is very little talent, and you've won with a lot of talent. Where you got to draft better, you got to fill holes on defense. Like, where are you going with this? And a lot of it's going to be determined by this next coaching hire. And the only thing that Brandon Beane has done by all of what's happened yesterday is shortened his leash a little bit, which is life in the NFL. But so now if the Bills don't win or get to where you told everyone you're supposed to get to by firing McDermott in the next, 2 years, everybody's out, probably.
Yes.
So,
Yeah, that the all eyes are on Bean at this point. Like he brought this on himself by, and as you said, I don't know that it's that everybody's saying it this way, but that clearly it's power struggle and McDermott's out and Bean is victorious in that. So that's fine. But the team's got to it's on you now. I mean, it's on Josh, but it's on you to make it right that dude who was as successful as anyone other than Marv in franchise history, he's gone,
yes.
and you're still here. So
right. Who, by the way, I know it's sacrilege to say it in this town. He played very poorly on Saturday and was as big a reason why they lost as anything. And I know we'll blame the refs up one side, down the other, and we'll blame everybody else, but the fumble was inexcusable. If he throws that ball a little farther out, Brandon Cooks catches that, and we don't have any of these debates.
Yeah.
And then a wide open Dawson Knox is like, you can't miss that, right?
Right.
So Josh is not blameless in any of this. Right?
No.
I thought he was as much a reason that they lost a playoff game as he has been the reasons why they have won them before. You know, and combined with the clear holes on defense that were exploited by a very smart opposing head coach. Again, no coincidence. They go right at Dane Jackson and Darnell Savage on the first plays. They're in there and score touchdowns. Like, that's just good coaching.
Yep. And I will say, like, everything you're saying about Josh is true in that there are probably 3 or 4 different plays where I expect something different from him and I don't get it. He's allowed to make mistakes, though. He's got, let's say 3 plays. Let's say the Knox. I'm not even going to blame him on the Hardman thing, because I honestly think Hardman that wasn't a good route. Like if he had cut straight across instead of fading, an extra yard or 2, the ball is up where he can catch it. He can probably catch it, turn and run. So, but that's right. I'm not blaming Hardman. It's just communication between a quarterback and a receiver is tough to read, and I'm going to err on the side of the guy who's been here for 8 years, threw the ball where it's supposed to be. It looks very much like they're off by 2 yards. And I'm going to say the guy who's been on and off the team and not really on the team for the most part, it's probably more on him. But regardless, Josh's magic comes through more often than it doesn't. That said, there are like 3 or 4 plays I'll lay and say, whoa, if that changes, the Bills win. Because this was a 3-point overtime game.
Right.
So you want to take any officiating thing you want. I'll take the non-call on interference, Cooks in the end zone. Like, what? How on earth is that not anything? Like, I grabbed him there, and he grabbed him there, and then he didn't catch the ball. But what's wrong with that? And then, going the other way at one point, I thought, well, I guess they're just not calling it because the Bills got away with one. But then they got called with one, and another one, and a personal foul, and Trey throwing the helmet, and all that stuff. But let's say there are a dozen plays in that game where if one of them goes the other way, the Bills just win. 3 of them were Josh. But, why are they in that game? Josh. The Cook fumble. If Cook doesn't fumble, they're probably up 14-3. They probably win that game by 17 points. But they didn't, and ultimately, it's over. But again, that's another reason it's super obvious. McDermott didn't get fired over this game. There's no chance of that. This was in the works. Very clearly, they could have had it. They got unlucky. It's not cool to say that, but they got unlucky and they lost the game. Either team could have won. It wasn't them. So again, Josh wasn't perfect. That stinks. I wish he was more perfect and one play better. And had he been, everything would be fine.
And again, when you need him to be perfect because you don't have a good enough personnel on offense, right? Like if you have a better receivers that can adjust and make amazing catches, your quarterback has to be less perfect. So it all always works together. And and again, I don't think there's any question the Bills are going to completely revamp the receiving core. Do they do it successfully this time? That's what we're going to find out.
Yeah, and all right. I'm not going to keep you here forever, but even like thinking about this team, it's not good enough. It's like, well, they were hurt, and I know there are injuries everywhere, but how much different is this team if it has Ed Oliver and Michael Hoyt all year long? A
lot different.
I mean, it's just the moments that we saw out of them, which were few and far between, were fantastic. And then Oliver comes back, and he's right back out of the lineup. Like, ugh. So I don't know. That's rough. Do you have to go, or is there anything else we want to do here?
No, I just might. The rest of my driveway awaits, so the longer I can postpone that,
Okay.
the better.
Well,
so.
good. Then let's talk about UB basketball, because you have
Sure.
you've been there. I haven't been to a game yet. I've watched a couple on TV. Tough one against Miami the other day. But what's your general sense of what's right about this team, without just saying Daniel Freitag is awesome? He's not only great at basketball, he came in and read to my kid's 4th grade class the other day, which is cool. The one day they had no snow.
Hey, it's players, right? Like they're so much. They have so many much better and more veteran players than they have in the past, and that's tied to Turner Battle helping and George Halkovich generating some money to be able to pay players to get better players and getting some Division II and NAIA veteran guys instead of a bunch of freshmen, right? But let's be honest, the Freitag is a difference maker. He's tied for the MAC lead in points. He can do almost everything. When you have a guy like that, and again, someone had to recognize that he could be that guy as well too. That's where I give George Halkovich a lot of credit. He recognized guys. He's made Ryan Sable a better player. He's taken a kid like Tim Obo from London, who is this incredible body who didn't know what he was doing last year, into a viable down low force now. So it's a lot of those things combined, right? They're deeper, they're more veteran, and now you're seeing them be more competitive. Problem right now is they're in this ridiculous run. As I was making my notes for tonight's game before we came on, they're in a MAC stretch. Their last 3 opponents are 16-4 in the MAC, and the one they're going to play tonight is 5-1. So they're in a 4-game stretch where the MAC opponents they're playing are 21-5, and that includes a now ranked Miami team that they almost beat.
Yeah.
So they're not quite there yet. That's why they've lost 3 in a row. To go from being bad to being great is hard to do. There are steps in between, and they're taking them. But they're competitive every week. They score a lot of points. They do a lot. They shoot threes great. So it's a much more fun product to watch as the season goes on. You hope that they'll figure out how to do some of those little things, learning how to win, right? I say that on the broadcast a lot with Tony Watson or Turner Battle. Like, teams have to learn how to win, and this team won 9 games last year. You have to learn, hey, we have a 12-point lead early in the second half. How do we protect that lead, right? How do we play differently to not let the team get back in? Don't take bad shots, don't turn it over. Like those are some of the little things that I think the team is going through now, but they are really fun to watch. Tonight should be an amazing game. These are 2 of the best offensive teams in the country. I don't know that it's going to be like it was the Miami game the other day, which was ridiculous. But this is shaping up to me as like an 87-84 game. You have the 2 top scorers in the league. You have the 2 best 3-point shooting teams in the league. So, if you've been stuck in the house all day today and you're looking for something to do and the weather is good tonight, game's still on. So it might be a fun time to check them out.
And if you live in the South Towns, Paul's got a truck. He'll pick you up.
Yeah, no kidding. I could probably do that.
He'll bring you up north here. It's helpful, I would say, that to not have anyone actively subverting your attempt to win games. That scandal that came out last week. I'm reading through the teams. I'm like, don't say Buffalo. Don't say Buffalo. Oh, no.
Yeah.
But also, in a kind of twisted way, it made me feel better because George Halkovich came in with, I won't say great fanfare, but all my research, the people that I know that I talked to are like, you're getting a great guy. You're getting a great coach. This guy's going to be awesome. And then he wins 4 games. You're like, and then 9 and like, and then this year's great. And then you hear, we had guys throwing games a couple of years ago. So that, I don't know, in a strange way, that makes me feel better about George. Is there anything, I haven't been on campus since that story scandal thing broke, and Mark Allnut put out a statement like, this sucks. I'm paraphrasing, but there's no carryover when you had bad eggs and they went away. The program had nothing to do with it. The team had nothing to do with it. Those guys aren't here anymore. There's nothing there. But what was the buzz when that happened last week?
Well, I think the buzz was like those of us that were around that team knew that it was knew that it wasn't the right team. Like George inherited some players that weren't necessarily bought into him. And, here's the other problem that I think is directly related to this is you hire a new coach, players leave, you're looking at a roster that you need 8 to 10 new players, and you have to do that in a month. And I've had coaches tell me this, what goes away is the vetting process, right? What goes away is the, well, I don't want to take him because he's got a little bit of iffy behavior in his past. Like, you're like, holy S, I need a point guard. That guy's a point guard. I got to have him go get him, right? And I think some of that happened a little bit where they had to take some guys that maybe they wouldn't normally have taken, and those guys weren't up to the character standards that you would hope that they have, right?
That's a 3:30 a.m. closing time situation. That's
that's exactly what it is. So,
make the best
so
decisions.
Again, those guys were all gone after that year, and again, I think that's, to me, like, you kind of shrug your shoulders, like, it was a bad team, it was some bad guys. They targeted the teams at the low level of Division I basketball where the guys aren't making a lot of money, so they become more willing to play that game, right? So, again, it's not like Buffalo was the only one. There was, a dozen teams,
and
a
like
couple
20.
of them, a couple of them, including one that was in the MAC, still had that player on their team, had to suspend that guy immediately. So that's a little different. So I didn't get a whole lot of sense of carryover. I think it was more like, we know that wasn't really a good team with good guys, and now we know for sure it wasn't.
And that's the kind, like you said, that's the kind of team you would target if you're trying to pull something like this. Like, go get a guy who's a carryover guy or whatever, a transitional team, new team. They're not going to win many games anyway. What's the difference? And also, I will say this. If you and I ever decide to put together any sort of gambling scandal and try to buy players and get them to do something, getting a team to not cover the first half spread is a genius marketing technique. Be like, no. And then once it's halftime, just turn it on. Go do whatever you want. Go, just save it. Just save it for the second half. Save your energy. That's a good plan.
Yeah, because you're not asking a guy to throw a game,
no.
which some you'd like to think every player would go, I don't care how much money you want to give me, I'm not throwing a game.
Right.
But when you do it that way, you're like, hey, can you just miss a shot? Or there was one of those clips that showed one of those guys with like just the worst offensive foul ever, right? Just running over a guy. Like, well, okay, that's one of those ways to do it, right? What amazes me the most is, you and I have talked about gambling. I'm not a fan. I don't like what it's done to sports, but I give them credit. Their reporting and like red flag systems are amazing, right? So, like, wait a minute, we just got a $400,000 bet on a Buffalo-Kent State game. Ding, 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 ding. Like, what did you think no one was going to mention?
Right. On half of a Buffalo-Kent State game.
Yeah.
It was, that's crazy. And it's, like, you would think just an alarm goes off and they just go arrest people right away, but it takes time to figure out. All right, well, what the hell was that? But you're going to get caught. Your social security number is tied to your gambling account.
Yeah,
so
well,
we're
going to find you. Right? Greed always brings people down like this.
Yeah.
If you bet $25,000 on that game, probably nobody notices.
Right.
So that was part of what brought these. So I give credit to the gambling places that their records that are abnormal, they do the right things about. Let the leagues know, let the teams know, so you can kind of keep an eye on things. But I think there's going to be more and more of these, and that bothers me. And I think we've seen it now in almost every professional and high level college league, that there's the lure of the money becomes too great for players to say no to doing it, and then ultimately they get caught, and it becomes a bigger problem.
Paul, I had one other thing written down that I wanted to talk to you. It's just a quick idea, and I want to run it by you. We're all in favor of broadcast innovation and making football specifically, because we work together for that, but football broadcasts the best that they can be, whether it's on the radio, us doing it, or it's on television and communicating effectively information to the fans. I had a new idea last night. Let me know what you think of it.
Go.
So I don't remember which touchdown it was. No, it wasn't even a touchdown. It was the interception. The interception that effectively ended the national championship game. And it's very clear. I mean, there's no problem. The ball is a little bit, he steps in front of it and he makes the catch, and there's no contact, there's no nothing, and he goes down, and then they're celebrating. And as Fowler and Herbstreit are talking about this tremendous victory for Indiana, there's a graphic on the screen that says flag. And they're just ignoring the graphic because they know, obviously, that it's a celebration flag. Right. So there's a flag on the field, but you know what that feels like when you're watching a football game and there's a crazy moment and they're just talking and it says flag. And you're like, I need to know what the flag is. But we all knew what the flag was. I think it shouldn't be yellow. The graphic shouldn't be yellow. When whoever is in charge of it says, they see it, they're going to put flag on the screen. But it being yellow made it seem like the broadcasters were ignoring this massive thing. But I knew, and most people knew. But if you just walk into the room and you look, it's like flag. Why are they celebrating? Oh my God, this might get overturned. And it should have been yellow.
Did you see when they played the clip of the play-by-play guy for Indiana has been there for like 50 years.
Yeah, he's never called a good football game.
He's a legend. Don Fisher's a legend. They played his call of that, and I felt bad for him because it was the moment that clinches the national championship. And at some point, he mentions there is a flag. And I'm like, like as a play-by-play guy, I'm like, no, don't do that. Like, ignore that because it ruins the call. Like, you see it, you know what it is, you know it's irrelevant to the play. Like, you have to ignore that, right? So I see your point. It's hard though, right? A flag's a flag, and it's one of those reasons why. When I do the games with you guys, when there's a touchdown and then there's I'm trying to figure out how to explain this. Like,
you finish the call, and then we'll address it.
Pause, and then mention there's a flag.
There is a flag.
If the flag's against the defense, it doesn't ruin your call.
Yes. But I think, you're thinking like a play-by-play guy. I'm thinking like just a sports fan. I'm watching, like, I get it. I know what's going on here. And they did a good job of just ignoring it and talking, just leave it there. But if you're just looking at the screen, I just think if that was in gray, it still says flag in the same spot, but it's gray instead of yellow, it would make it a little simpler and better and more peaceful so you can enjoy the moment. You don't have to. You're
not thinking it's pass interference.
Yeah, you don't have to think about it. So I don't know.
Yeah, no, I like it. I think it's great. I think that's great because it is. It was a misleading flag that kind of slightly tarnished the moment. A little bit for some people.
It could. And I just think it's very simple. Just it's not yellow. Only when we know for sure. Like the whole play happened. Whoever it was that hit the button that brings the bug up that says flag on the screen, they saw it. They know it's in the end zone. They know it's nowhere near anything. And just hit the button and make it gray or whatever instead of bright yellow, indicating that maybe this thing's coming back. All right, Paul, great to have you on. That was an awesome bowling conversation. I'm glad you wore your hoodie. Go take care of your driveway. Enjoy the basketball game tonight. We'll see you soon.
All right, thanks, Brad.
All right, there is Paul Peck, our good friend and our senior bowling correspondent who came on to talk about football. Bowling correspondent just gets you in the door. Once you're in the door, we can do whatever we want with you. And I texted Paul last night at like 10:30. I'm watching the national championship game. I know he's watching it. I'm like, honestly, he is a longtime Buffalo sports broadcaster who, if I don't bring him on, I don't know that he gets the chance to publicly talk into a microphone, or a telephone in this case, and discuss the firing of Sean McDermott after 8 playoff seasons in 9 years. We can't not hear from Paul Peck. That's what the show is for. All right, we're going to take a timeout. We'll be right back. During the music that's playing, you're not going to see the thing on the screen that tells you the song. Instead, you're going to see a banner ad for Brain Vault at the Caz, which is starting a week from today. Tickets available at thecazbuffalo.com. Please go buy tickets. Can't wait for this event. It's going to be the first of many. We're officially locked in for 6, but the plan is to do it infinitely until I'm dead. Also, I'm going to stop looking like this and look more like the picture you see on the banner. It won't be exactly that because that picture it's not fake. It's a picture of me. And I didn't say make me look pretty. I just said turn this into a headshot and, change what I'm wearing. So I've got like a blazer with a shirt under it instead of just, a hoodie and a winter hat and looking like a slob. And again, look how terrible this is. The closer I get, the more you can see how awful, like puffy and stupid. We're going to get this fixed. I'll show you my head again. Here's the latest on what's happening up here. Complete disaster. See that? I'm getting it all taken care of this week at Buffalo Trim. They're going to make me look like a person. Buffalo Trim is open every day. No appointments are necessary. You just walk in anytime. They have 6 different locations: Amherst, East Amherst, Williamsville up north, Blaisdell, Orchard Park, Hamburg down south, down in Paul Peck territory. There are TVs everywhere, pool table. I guess the most important thing would be a haircut's $25. So you're not getting this, frou-frou, whatever. It's just perfect. You can try the Working Man package, which is a haircut, hot, lather, neck shave, and shampoo for $29. You're a fool if you don't chip in the extra $4 for the hot lather. I'm getting all this stuff. I'm getting all of it. I'm getting I don't know what it's called, the executive. They've got names for different packages. And I need the top one because we're trying to go from basement live stream show / podcast host. I'm trying to go from ugly radio guy to fancy game show host, and I needed help. So I went to Buffalo Trim, and they're going to hook me up sometime this week. I have to call today, or call, text, whatever, and set up my appointment. So any day now, I'm going to come in here, and it's going to look like I'm going to look like the guy in the picture instead of this dude, which is nice. It's kind of fun to intentionally just go full werewolf and get all shaggy, knowing that somebody else is going to take care of it. I've been cutting my own hair for far too long because I don't care. I mean, you don't need... I mean, this is bad. But I just keep it super short, and who cares? There are a lot of people like me walking around like, yeah, I bought clippers. Like, done. But I think it's time. I think it's time to get it cleaned up. And they'll provide maintenance as we go as well. Buffalo Trim, they say, give us a try and you won't go anywhere else. I'm going to give them a try and then I'll tell you about it. And I bet they're right. All right, we're going to take a time out and we'll play a little music and then come back. It's already 11:33 and I didn't even get through the opening segment. School's closed again, by the way. All right, I'm going to do this real quick and then I'll take the break. We don't need Paul on the screen anymore. Let's go to that one. Oh, do you like the new look, by the way? I saw one comment about the, in the immortal words of Kenny Rogers Roasters, it's the wood that makes it good. Do you like the new wood wall? Let me know in the chat. I think it looks way better. I also want the show to look different. I think it looks brighter, cleaner, sharper. I'm changing the look. Little things. It's going to keep growing. We're almost at 250. Like 250 is Friday. I don't have any plans for the 250th episode spectacular yet, but we should do something. Minimally have like fireworks in the background as I'm doing the show. I don't know. We'll do something for 250. We did something for... We did 100. Well, no, 100 was the end of the radio run. 200, I think we did something. Now we're at 250. We'll do something. I don't know what it is yet. Anyway, tracking the snow. It's not snowing. I mean, I've been downstairs for an hour and a half, so maybe things have changed. But at last check, like plow didn't even come. No, nothing. Just nothing. But school's closed again. They closed it last night at 8 o'clock at night or something. Abundance of caution. They didn't actually use those words this time, out of an abundance of caution. But I'm going to walk you through my son, Zach, who is 13. He'll be going into high school next year. His school attendance the last several weeks. So it was 2 weeks off for Christmas and New Year's. I guess I just accept that now because the holidays fell on Thursdays. They just, let's just take 2 weeks off. Okay, they go back to school for a week. And then they return that he went 5 days. They all did. But specifically Zach, because he was sick, too. So Zach had 2 weeks off, went back to school for a week. Then last week, Monday, he was out sick. Tuesday, he was out sick. I didn't even know it. Like, he just was upstairs in his room. I never even saw him during the course of the day. I found out that night that he hadn't gone to school. That night when we were deciding if he should go to basketball practice. I was like, why wouldn't he go to basketball practice? My wife's because he didn't go to school the last 2 days. Like, oh, I didn't even know that. So he missed Monday and Tuesday. They had a school day on Wednesday. He went to that. They had a snow day for no reason on Thursday. And then he went back to school on Friday. So he went no for 2 weeks, yes for a week. Then no, yes, no, yes. So he went twice last week. And this week so far, Monday, holiday, Martin Luther King Day. Tuesday, off. Not snowing. Cold. Might be single digits, but it's Buffalo, January. We're closing schools because it's January. They'll have a week-long February break coming up soon, I'm sure, too, right? Maybe they'll go back to school tomorrow, or might it possibly snow? And might we think tonight that it might possibly snow tomorrow, and then we'll just cancel that, too? It's ridiculous. All of it's ridiculous. Paul's out there snowblowing. He's in Hamburg. I get it. We don't need to. I moved away from the snow. My wife told me it snows way less on like Sheridan Drive than it does on Genesee Street, let's say. And I didn't necessarily believe her. I kind of started to when there was that crazy, the Kent State game when they couldn't get here. They were stuck in the South Towns, but the North Towns were perfect. Like, I started to believe it then, but I didn't live up here yet then. I was more Middle Towns. It's fine here. Stop closing the schools. Stop it. Who do I talk to about this? Is there a club? Is there a secret superintendent's club? They're like, I'll close if you will. All right, yeah, I'll do it. Because if you're the weird district that closes because you think it might snow, you look terrible. But if you're all in on it, you're in cahoots. We're all stuck with the kids at home. Unacceptable. Oh, you know what I forgot I get to do now? So I said I changed the way this looks. I can put the Brain Vault banner up on the screen. In theory. Something's failing right now, but like right up here, I can put stuff now. And it looked good when I did it yesterday, but now that I'm trying to do it, it'll look like I'll do it on the way when we get back. Quick timeout. Oh, look at this. The great Ray Walter says, I am a regular at Buffalo Trim and always get the working man package. The hot towel and neck shave is fantastic. There you go. I've got that to look forward to. Plus, I'm going to look better. There's only so much you can do with this. And that has been discussed. Like, we want to sit down with you, Brad. We're very capable here. But there's only so much we can do. They didn't really say that, but they could have, and I would not have been offended. It would have been fine. I'd accept it. But I'm heading there. I've not been there to I'm getting some work done. I've not done that. But I will this week, and you'll see the effects. I feel bad that no matter how great they do, like, you can improve me 300%. Turn me into what, a 6.5? You work with what you can. That's what McDermott tried. He got fired. All right, I'm gonna play a song. I don't know what it's gonna be. I'll just hit play. This one's got 8 seconds left. Something else will come on, and then we'll be back. Stick around. I'm Brad Riter. It's Riter Radio, episode 247, the new look. See, I told you I could put the thing up on the screen like that. Put the banner ad up. I forget to self-promote. Like, we've got this event. I mention it here and there, but, like, why don't I put a banner up? Why don't I put the link to buy tickets in the chat on YouTube? I did it yesterday, maybe. I just did it now. It's there. Tickets are on sale. The first event is a week from today. And we've moved some tickets, but we need to move a bunch more tickets. So go get the tickets for the first of many live trivia shows. We call it Brain Vault. It's at the Kaz in South Buffalo. It's an incredible venue. I brought some photos. Let's see. So I switched to that. And then I put them here somewhere. I'm teaching myself how to do this, like be my own video producer at the same time that I'm being the host of the show and talking to the guests and trying to entertain. I'm trying to do all of the stuff. But I'm going to take the banner ad down. All right, let's see. I take that away. And then I've got pictures that I think, I'm going to take my face away too. I'm going to take me away. How do I do that? Right there. I'm gone. I'm still here. But now you just see the wall. And that allows me to put up photos. It's like TV. It's like real TV of the Cavs. I want you to see. First, here's just the sign. Right? Nothing. No big deal. Right? It's an old bank. It's an Art Deco bank built in 1921. And I'm not saying nothing. I'm saying it is very unassuming from the outside. It looks like an old bank. You're never like, oh, look at that old bank. I want to go in that old bank. Nobody thinks that. But what if the old bank looks like this on the inside? What if that's the bank? See, there's a stage over there on the right. And this is a view from the balcony. You can see there are some people sitting on the balcony. Paul Peck is calling right now. No, all right, that was a mistake. Butt dial. He's probably, he's got his mittens on, and he's got his phone somewhere inside of his overalls, his snowsuit, and he mashed a button by mistake and just called. I thought, usually when we have a guest on, and then 5 minutes later they call back, there's some kind of breaking news, and I was excited that there was going to be something there. It's nothing. Okay, so anyway, back to the Cavs. So what you're seeing here, if you're looking from left to right, you're seeing, first of all, you're seeing a picture from up top in the balcony or mezzanine area, if you will. You're getting a vibe of sort of the, just the overall, sense of the layout. If you're looking, you can see if on the left there are people right on the rail of the mezzanine. If you look down, you see the bar area. Some kind of, something's going on there. Some maybe hugging. Maybe dancing. Right at the corner of the bar there. I'm just noticing that. It's not super large on my screen, so I can't zoom in on it, but something's going on there right at the bottom corner of the bar. Seems to be a man and woman engaged in something. Anyway, over to the right is really where we'd like to focus our attention, and that is that's the stage. So you see it all lit up. I don't know what colors we're using. I'm not in charge of the lighting, but it's not bar trivia night. It's a show. It will feature me and 3 other people, all of whom you've probably, if you know me, you know them, all of whom you've probably, you're familiar with their work. And I don't want to announce them without having them on. So we'll wait until we can book them over the course of the next couple weeks. Or a couple days, I should say. We're a week out from the show. But you can see there's a stage, and on the right and left are 2 screens that in this particular performance they're using them as like a bonus item. But for us, the live show, which will be shot by 7 different cameras, will be directed and placed up there. So you'll see like the TV version of it. And this first one I don't think is going to be broadcast on YouTube, but we're working toward that. We're going to film it and then use that to kind of build promotional materials for future episodes. There's a lot going on here. But I want you to see the inside of this place. I picked up my dad and brought him there just to show him because he had seen the pictures. And he's like, what is going on in this place? I said, well, I'm going there. This was a week ago today. And I took him in there, and he was blown away as well. And I'll show you one more picture of this is sort of the view from being seated on the left-hand side. And now you can see this is more like what the trivia show will look like. See, the screens on the right and left are showing what's happening on the stage. But it's not just a one-camera feed. There's a feed of like looking out at the audience. There will be a feed on me and one on our panel and one on our contestants that are coming up on stage. There's a lot going on. But I just wanted to give a little insight now that I can. Now I know how to do that. So I take that down, and now I'll put, turn off photos. I'll bring the banner back. And then I'll bring me back. So this is what TV's like. If you have multiple people doing it, it's seamless. They just jump from this to that. But it's just me. This is what it looks like. So I've got my Kaz ad, and then I've got another banner ad here for Buffalo Trim, who's a sponsor of the show and is going to clean me up. And then the other sponsor of Brain Vault that is locked in right now is the Financial Guys. I talk a lot about Brian Janik at the Financial Guys, and that's just the insurance aspect of it. And again, Brian Janik, thefinancialguys.com, sponsor of the show for months now, and we appreciate him. But that led to a conversation with the financial guys as a whole, and explain what they're doing. They're like, yeah, let's do it. We're in. So financial guys, I don't have their logo yet, but Buffalo Trim is up here on the screen, and I can take that down now and put this one back up. Again, Buffalo Trim. Give us a try, and you won't go anywhere else. I also want to describe Brain Vault, and this is the way that it's described on the. If you click the link at the top here, is the same description you're going to hear of the show, and I've told you about it a little. I know I talk about it a lot. I haven't given it a lot of details. I'm trying to aim myself so I'm not. There we go. That's better. Here's what it says there. I'm just going to read it out loud. This will be like a commercial for Brain Vault. Here we go. The Brain Vault is a live ticketed trivia show that plays more like a late night talk show than bar trivia. Makes sense. You know who I am, right? All right. The night blends competition, conversation, and spectacle, creating an experience that's just as entertaining to watch as it is to play. Hosted by media personality me, with weekly guests. Players are encouraged. It says guests here, and then it makes it sound like the people on stage are encouraged to play along, but it's not them. It's you. Like people who buy tickets and come, patrons. I mean, guests is the right term. Anyway, if you come to the thing, encouraged to play along from their phones throughout the show. If you choose to volunteer, your name goes into the vault. If you're called, your phone is locked away, and you're brought on stage alone. From there, it's high-pressure questions under lights, a large screen, and live panel commentary. No teams, no outside help. Staged at the Kaz, the show moves at a tight, deliberate pace in a music hall setting with a natural flow that keeps the night engaging from start to finish. Every show is different, driven by who steps up and how they handle the moment, which makes each night unpredictable and fun for everyone in the room. Whether you sit back with a drink, recommended, compete from your seat, or take your shot on stage in front of friends and strangers alike, Brain Vault is designed as a true night out, smart, competitive, and entirely on your terms. It's exciting, but I don't want to scare people away. So it's on your terms. You don't have to go on stage. Just come check it out. Come watch. Play along on your phone if you want. If you don't, just sit there. If something's funny, laugh. If you're impressed by something, clap. If you're having to just react in real time. And know that what we're building here is it's a TV show. This is a TV show that's not on TV. It's almost like a dress rehearsal. Because I'm going to get dressed. It's going to be a real thing. And the more of you that participate, the better it'll be. Interactive, super fun. Tickets available at thecasbuffalo.com, and the link to that is at the top of the chat right now. All right, I'm taking the thing off the screen, going back to this screen. There we go. See? Doesn't it look better? I haven't gotten a lot of feedback on it. I got a text or two, and maybe one or two comments in the chat. But I think a cleaner, brighter, and more, I don't know, easier on the eyes. And now wait till I'm cleaned up. Wait till I get easier on the eyes. The whole thing looks nice. And then imagine if the dude sitting in the middle of it looks less horrible. That's coming, thanks to Buffalo Trim. All right. The plan was the first half hour of the show was going to be me going through all of the hirings and firings that have happened with Bills head coaches since 1997 when Marv Levy stepped down. I got to Wade Phillips, and then it was time to talk to Paul. It's now 11:59. It didn't. I was thinking about this as I was reading the description of how it's a tight, deliberate pace for Brain Vault. Thinking, really? Hosted by me? It's all right. I'll force myself into it. I'll force myself to work at a tight, deliberate pace that doesn't lead to me rambling into. I ended up talking about hockey. I'm trying to talk about the Bills. Like, what am I doing? So I'm going back to this. The show's going to run a little long today. All right? I started working in radio in 1997. Immediately, we had one Bills season. Marv retired. Wade Phillips comes in. He's there for 3 years. They had lost His second year, they went to the playoffs. They lost to the Titans. I don't know if you remember that play. The Bills had the lead, and then the kickoff, and Kevin Dyson, and Wycheck, and Lorenzo Neal. It's forgettable. Forgettable play. That happened. He's out. Donahoe's in. I'm not tracking GMs here, but he's out. Donahoe's in. Greg Williams is the hire for the new coach, the Donahoe choice as coach, because Donahoe's in as general manager. He comes in with blowhorns and whistles and acts like he's won 6 Super Bowls and hadn't, and his welcome was worn out. He's been around forever, but as far as being a head coach of an NFL team, he was not ready for that. And he's had little flashes. I don't know if he's ever been, was he the Titans head coach for real? See, I'm going to get sidetracked again. I know he's been an interim head coach. He was heavily involved in the Bounty Gate thing. He was Bills head coach, interim head coach with the Browns at one point. Okay, never again a head coach. Head coach from 01 to 03, didn't work. Never did it again. He's now a defensive coordinator at Tennessee State. DC Defenders, Jets, Browns, Rams, Titans, Rams, Saints, Jaguars, Redskins, all since being here in Buffalo. So we didn't like that one. When he got fired, it was like, good, get out. That was full-on Chuck Dickerson referring to 4th and stupid when he punted from like the 32-yard line at one point. Mike Mularkey came in. All of his passwords were Super Bowl. That's what I remember about that hire. What was his... Him leaving was weird, too. Did he just resign? His contract was up. Then he left. Let's see what happened there. That one was a little weird. He went on to coach elsewhere. He was hired here. Yeah, he resigned. January 12th, 2006, he resigned as head coach of the Bills, citing a disagreement in the direction of the organization, who had recently hired new management, including ex-coach Marv Levy. Things were weird back then. And I could see walking away going, you know what? This organization probably isn't going to make the playoffs for another 13 years. I'm going to go. So he was here for 2 years. They went 14 and 18. Nobody loved him. Nobody hated him. He was just kind of there. Greg Williams, by the way, 17 and 31 over 3 years. They fired 29 and 19 Wade Phillips to get to him. All right, so it was Williams, Mularkey, then 4 years of Dick Duran. Dick Duran had a moment and suddenly had a contract extension, and then suddenly the world regretted it. Let's see. Fired his offensive coordinator. When did he leave? Schoner. November 17th, 2009, Duran was fired by the Bills after starting the season 3-6. He ended his tenure with the Bills with an overall record of 24 and 33. They move on from Duran. Nobody was mad. The point of all of this is how unique this feels to have the departure of Sean McDermott after as much success as he has had. Although, some of you are like, this guy's got to go. He's been in the playoffs 8 to 9 years. 5 straight division titles. Super close the times that they haven't. They've been very close. There's mixed feelings here. So Perry Fuel comes in. He's the interim guy. He goes 3-4. There's some talk of him possibly being considered as the head coach. That goes away when Chan Gailey is hired. It seemed like sort of a left field hire for the Bills at the time. He was coming from... He had been at Georgia Tech for a while. He was with the Chiefs as their offensive coordinator in 2008. Then he was demoted after the preseason, or during the preseason, relieved of play calling duties. He was out of football in 2009, came back with the Bills in 2010. And it was a weird kind of, you sure about this? Sort of hire. Just because he was an older guy. He was cool, though. He was fun. His record was terrible. He went 16 and 32. But there was a vibe for a little while. The little Yes We Chan thing was going on. He was fun to have around. So Gailey's out after 2012. Then it gets crazy. Doug Marrone comes in. That was kind of a grumpy couple of years. He resigned also. So that was 2 out of their last 4. 2 out of their last 4 real coaches just resigned, which you don't hear ever in football, but that's kind of organization they were at the time. They finished 9-7, second place in the East, 2 wins from the playoffs. It was their first winning season in 10 years, which happened under Mike Mularkey, who also resigned. At the end of the 2014 season, it was revealed that Marrone had a 3-day out clause in his contract in the event of an ownership change. The clause was triggered by the sale of the Bills in 2014 after the death of Ralph Wilson. Marrone exercised the out clause and quit on December 31st, 2014, still collecting his 2015 salary in full. After he quit, several players expressed their displeasure and disgust with both the decision and the way that he informed the team. One of the captains and longest tenured players on the team, Fred Jackson, said it was like getting punched in the stomach. Marrone interviewed with the Jets for their head coaching position. His interview reportedly did not go well. Again, this is all Wikipedia's version of it, but I'm just trying to go through, like, why did it feel so weird with the McDermott thing? After Marrone, Rex Ryan comes in. That was chaos, huh? How did that one end? He was fired with time left on his contract, too, if I remember correctly. He was hired on January 12th, 2015. 5-year deal. He made it 1 year plus quite a bit. Was it December 27th, after a Christmas Eve loss to the Dolphins in Week 16 that eliminated the team from playoff contention, Ryan was relieved of his duties as head coach, and offensive coordinator Anthony Lynn was named as interim head coach for the final game of the season. His brother Rob Ryan was dismissed as well. Following the season, he went on a profane tirade against the team for allegedly quitting on him. He was replaced on a full-time basis by Sean McDermott in Buffalo, who proceeded to lead the Bills to the postseason in his first year back in 2017. So that's the history of Bills coaching. Nothing in there is like shocking at all. Wade Phillips being fired after going 29-19 in 3 years was unexpected, but as Paul Peck pointed out earlier, new general manager, wasn't his head coach, wanted to move on. His head coach was Greg Williams, which tells you a lot about how the Donahoe tenure went here. I always liked him. I liked him more than most people did. He was nice to me. He gave me information when I would ask for it. He was cooler to me than he apparently was to most people. I don't know. I'm still like, if you ask me what I think of Donahoe, no, it didn't go well, but I'm pro him. Like, his name comes up and people go, ugh. And I go, oh, I liked him. I like Tom. Tom's cool. But you got two coaches quitting in the middle there. You've got coaches getting fired during the season there. You've got Greg Williams, who obviously it wasn't working out and was time to move on. All of it was obvious. It was either obvious or what took you so long. But it was never, you just woke up in the morning and a guy who's 98-50, 662 winning percentage is better than Marv. 98 wins. Another year and a half, he would have passed Marv as the all-time leading coach in Bills history. All right, he's got 98 wins. Marv at 112. So a perfect season next year would have put him there, if my math is correct. Also, they have a column on this page for accomplishments. Marv Levy's got a bunch of them. Pro Football Hall of Fame, 4 AFC championships, 6 AFC East championships, 8 playoff berths, 1 Sporting News Coach of the Year, 2 UPI NFL Coach of the Year. There's that. Then it goes to Wade Phillips, 2 playoff berths. And then for accomplishments, nothing is listed between Wade Phillips and Sean McDermott. Accomplishments, none. For Greg Williams, Mike Mularkey, Dick Duran, Perry Fewell, Chan Gailey, Doug Marrone, Rex Ryan, Anthony Lynn. It's a fun question. Who's the last person to coach a Bills game before Sean McDermott coached 148 of them? And it's Anthony Lynn with 1. Accomplishments. So again, Wade Phillips, 2 playoff berths, nothing for everyone in between. And then you get to Sean McDermott, 5 AFC East championships, 8 playoff berths. 8 playoff berths. That's the same as Marv. Same number of playoff berths as Marv Levy. I'm not mad about this, but I'm explaining why it's unusual. I don't hate moving on. Got to get it right, but I don't hate a different flavor of Bills football next year. New stadium, new attitude, new something. Go win the damn thing. Don't win it because all the good teams are out or all the good players, good quarterbacks are out. Go win it. Come on, man. And I don't blame him at all. And I feel for him. I think he did an incredible job as the head coach of the Bills. But it's just, I don't know. It's a game. It's a TV show, man. It's a TV show. They're changing the cast. They've lost that spark or whatever. I can view it that way and be fine. Football's a television show. And in season whatever it is for the Bills next year, they brought in a new cast member playing a major role. But it happens. You can replace Diane Chambers with Rebecca Howe and succeed. Like, and I know they didn't fire Diane, but why did they fire Diane on Cheers? It'll be okay. We'll bring in Rebecca and it'll be great. And it was great. Even when Coach died, they brought in Woody. It was great. They got further with Woody than they ever would have gotten with Coach. It was sad. So we're just looking, that's what we're looking for here. Sean McDermott is coach from Cheers and also coach from the Bills. Now you just got to replace him with Woody Harrelson. Not the actual Woody Harrelson, but I think you understand what I'm saying, right? Okay, I'm going to close that, and then I'm going to look at my sheet, because that was the first thing I had written down to talk about today. Oh, the Wade Phillips tweet. So I forgot about that. This is what led to this whole thing. There was a tweet from Wade Phillips yesterday. Legit, real Wade Phillips, who's the best. His Twitter handle is Son of Bum, because he's Bum Phillips Kid, at Son of Bum. But he said, I'm very surprised to hear that, I'm paraphrasing because I don't have it in front of me. I'm surprised to hear that the Bills would fire a head coach after a playoff loss. And he signed it, Wade Phillips. Like, it says Wade Phillips right there, then it says Son of Bum. You know it's him. There's a picture of him. It's Wade Phillips. But he signed it Wade Phillips because he's an old guy using Twitter, or X. He probably still calls it Twitter. He's so old he calls it Twitter. Ah. But Wade jumping in with that comment I thought was awesome and led me to start thinking about it. It's like, that's the last time they fired a guy. I'm like, I don't know if this is a great idea. That's really what it is, right? I'm going through all of this, but it's the first time a guy left. You're like, oh, they might have been, all right. Again, I'm not super against it. It feels weird, and I wanted to explore my feelings on Riter Radio. I'm 247 episodes into it and 30 years into broadcasting and 9 Bills coaches. Like, just telling you, it doesn't feel like, yeah, had to happen. Go get this guy. I don't have a go get this guy. I'm a little on this Cignetti thing, but I don't know how realistic that is. He's the king of Indiana. Does he want to stop being the king of Indiana? That seems crazy. And 2 weeks ago when I was hearing he might be a name for an NFL team, I thought that's stupid. He's not leaving Indiana. But suddenly the Bills opening shows up on the day of the national championship game, and I'm like, well, I did hear this thing about Cignetti. Has to be in the conversation. At least my conversation, not the real one. And they call me like, no, I'm partying. What are you, nuts? I'm in a hot tub right now with champagne. Leave me alone. I saw him smile. It was funny. So I've never seen Cignetti smile. This whole season, they're dominating college football, ripping through the Big Ten with a program that's a traditional loser. And people are going nuts, and the state is rallying around him, and all this stuff is happening. He doesn't crack a smile ever, in my view. He might smile at home. He might smile in the locker room. I don't know. But the way he presents himself is just all business, anger. And they win the title. They seal it, the interception, and then kneel it out. And people are going nuts. And he takes his headset off. And he's got a big smile on his face. And about 4 seconds later, he gets hit with a bucket of Gatorade. And I thought, well, that was short-lived. Now he's mad. Now he's not going to smile again. But he brought it back. He did smile throughout the post-game stuff as he was walking around, talking to people and hugging people and shaking hands and all that. He looked like a person who was proud of his accomplishments, which is good. Because it would suck to have the entire nation feel this about this program and that entire state feel what it's feeling about the program and have the guy who executed it. Be like, we have to get back to work. We've got recruiting to do. We've got a game in 8 months or whatever it is. Is it 8 months? 7 months? 7 months from now, football starts again. And I would bet that by like maybe now, he's locked into that. He's probably in his office. He's one of those guys. But I really thought that the 4 seconds of smiling might have been over. It's like, oh, now he's got to kill this guy that dumped Gatorade on him. This guy that he said he loved. He's going to kill him. And he can't smile anymore. But he did. He lightened up a little. All right. I was going to do a whole rundown on all the coaching jobs. Maybe I will. Green Day is playing a Super Bowl pregame show, which I don't remember that being a thing, but I like it. For all the controversy over Bad Bunny being the halftime show. Who cares? But I do like when a band that relates to, like if Buffalo ever held a Super Bowl, whether America liked it or not, Goo Goo Dolls are playing it. You know? And you're in San Francisco, Bay Area, Green Day. Let's go. If not Metallica, Green Day. And Green Day's doing a pregame show, which will honor NFL MVP. So part of the broadcast, it'll be quick. You know, my son loves Green Day and asked how long they'll be. You know, like maybe 20 minutes, but probably closer to 12. You know, probably play one lyric of this, one chorus of that, one lyric of this, one chorus of that. Time of your life. Bye-bye. Good riddance. It's probably that, but it will be done in conjunction with introduction of living Super Bowl MVPs. So I'm into that. Good. Real music, affiliated with the area where the game is going to be played, and connecting it to football, and that's fun. So Green Day Super Bowl pregame show, 6 o'clock. Fernando Mendoza. This might be the only thing I have to do left. Rainbow. Yeah. Oh, well. All right. Real quick on Fernando Mendoza, who is the presumptive first overall pick in the NFL draft. I don't know if that's right. I don't have a film breakdown. I mean, I'm impressed like you are. Anyone who's seen him play, he's the Heisman Trophy winner. He led the improbable Indiana Hoosiers team to victory, an undefeated season. It's incredible. And he's been awesome. But I got to say, I wouldn't want to hang out with him. That the vibe he gives up. So he's like a churchy, he's like a nerd. He's a stud athlete, but he's also like a nerd. And I don't know what nerd means these days, but I mean he's nerdy. I don't know what his grades are. I'm not saying like, ooh, he's too smart and that sucks. I'm saying he carries himself like and maybe I'm only seeing him jacked up after a win. And, you know, we watched him advance in the playoffs and beat Ohio State and, you know, advance to the playoff. Maybe I'm just seeing him at his most hyper. He comes across, like, have you ever seen Quentin Tarantino on a late night talk show where he comes in as a guest and he's just, I mean, I assume that's what cocaine looks like on television, like an already energetic dude. But even if it's not, it's caffeine. It's you know, I just pounded 6 Red Bulls. Like that's the energy he gives off. That's what Mendoza gives off after a game. Getting beat up and bloodied. That final touchdown was awesome. Him diving through and he got smacked as he crossed the goal line too, and just got up and didn't care. Like he's super impressive until he's got a microphone. And then he's just like a nerdier Tarantino. Maybe not nerdier because Tarantino can't play football. Maybe that makes you less nerd. But also the kind of goody two shoes. Although he did swear loudly into an ESPN microphone after the game from the podium. Nobody even cared. Nobody even commented. And I wasn't looking. I assume it was him. I don't. It's possible it wasn't him with a big like let's go that happened, but I'm pretty sure that was him, and then we just let it go. But he is again nerdy church. It seems like if Tarantino, instead of cocaine, it's like Hawaiian Punch. Like this dude got into the Mountain Dew, the Code Red, The one that's got more, I don't even know if it has more caffeine, but the stuff that my wife won't let my kids drink when we're at baseball games. Like, yeah, you can have money, go get a drink. No Mountain Dew, or no the purple Mountain Dew. That one seems like it's a drug. Anyway, that's what Mendoza comes off as. He comes off as like a crazy person, but you watch him on the field, he's incredible. But him in Vegas, it's a weird fit. It's weird. I wrote down, he's a lot in interviews. You've met these people. It's like, yeah, that guy was cool. Great player, but I don't know, man. Like, how's that? Josh Allen wound up here in part because they interviewed him and loved him. You think about that. Like, when you don't know these people, you don't know Josh Allen, and then you hear Brandon Beane after he drafts him, like, we talked to him and he's our guy. Like, there's no way this isn't our guy. And then 5 minutes into getting to know the guy, you're like, oh, yeah, he's our guy. Which, again, all right, side point. This is what I do. My brain works like this. I keep hearing about, Brady might be a good option and Dable might be a good option because they've got ties to Allen. Who have you heard of that has met and disliked Josh Allen? Who has watched him on television and disliked him? Like, I'm sure there's someone somewhere that he's rubbed the wrong way that isn't a huge fan. But I don't know, man. Can that guy work with Josh Allen? Seems like a stupid question, doesn't it? Yes, I want the quarterback's approval on whoever's coming in. He gets to run the team right now. Not run it, but he gets consulted. And if he is like, can't do it, then we can't do it. But I don't think he's a can't do it guy at any point. Who would be a proposed head coach for the Bills that Josh Allen would be like, no way. You bring that guy in, I'm not coming back. I'm holding out or whatever. Who would that be? It seems like, and I don't know him, but it seems like that's a super attractive thing to work with Josh Allen. And then he's just got to go, oh, yeah, you're okay. He meets you for the first time. He's going to be awesome. You just don't be terrible. And then he'll say, all right, yeah, it's good. At least that's the perception of this dude, how he walks through life. He walks through life and everybody is thrilled that he's there. Rightfully so, because he's brightening your day by throwing a touchdown pass or running for a touchdown pass or buying you an ice cream cone or holding the door for you or making a little joke with a kid at a cancer hospital and they're showing it on TV. Like, is there anyone who's a football coach ever who will go, I can't take this job. I can't work with that quarterback? I think the answer is no. If you can't work with that quarterback, I don't want you anyway. So even if I'm wrong and the answer is yes, and there are people who are like that, well then, okay, what are you doing here? You know what you're walking into? We talk about how attractive the Giants job is because of Jackson Dart. Jackson Dart is baby Josh, except concussions, and hasn't quite done it yet, but he looks like he might be kind of like that. Is he as cool and fun and personable and excellent at interpersonal communication as Josh Allen? I'm trying to think of the right way to say it other than like one of one. I hate cliched language. But if you can't work with that guy, you can't work with anyone. So he just has to go, yeah, you're fine. He doesn't have a history with Josh. Let him hang out with him for 15 minutes, and he'll have a history with Josh. Then they can work together. It'll be fine. NFL openings. We'll go through real quick. 12:23. Close enough. 10 jobs opened. 3 of them have been filled officially. There are rumors elsewhere. Actually, let me check on Tennessee, because I believe Robert Saleh is going there, and I don't have that on my list. GM coaching tracker. Refresh. Scroll to the top. Titans. No, hold on. Just want to keep track of this. A lot of moving pieces. Oh, I'll throw this out there too. In the conversation probably with my wife yesterday. My wife about McDermott. It's like, who's out there? Who can you get? I'm like, well, 10 coaching staffs just blew up. So it's a pretty good time to be in the market if you're looking for NFL experience. Pretty good time for it. If 10 coaches leave at the same time, I mean, one of them is yours, so we'll call it 9. You got options. for sure. I thought I saw that Tennessee had hired Robert Saleh. Maybe it was just that he was interviewing. They were the first team to fire their head coach, dismissing Brian Callahan October 13th following a 1-5 start. I think I should probably look elsewhere for this story. Saleh, Titans. Saleh to Titans. Titans expected to hire 49ers defensive coordinator Robert Saleh as their head coach. Okay, so that one's not done yet. Matt Nagy was in consideration there. They're already saying he's got other plans after losing out to Robert Saleh. So hasn't happened officially to my knowledge. So I'm going to write him in anyway. It seems like that's true. I can change this tomorrow. But I want to keep it current and in front of me. I would maybe do this anyway, but certainly with the Bills being involved. All right, so Arizona job is available. Atlanta's job has been filled by Kevin Stefanski, former Browns head coach. Ravens job available. Bills job available. Cowboys job available. Raiders job available. The Dolphins have hired Jeff Hafley, who was the defensive coordinator with the Packers. The Giants have hired John Harbaugh, who was the head coach of the Ravens. Pittsburgh job open. Tennessee job filled by Robert Saleh, former Jets head coach, and most recently defensive coordinator with the Niners. That one's not official, but we're counting it for the purpose of a piece of paper that sits on my desk that I can change by tomorrow. That's where we think we stand right now. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 openings remain for head coaches in the NFL, including the Buffalo Bills. I've done nothing during this show to look and see if there's any, so-and-so's coming in for an interview or any of that stuff. You'll find that. I'll find that over the course. As it happens, we'll do it. But anything that breaks live during the show is tough for me to notice. And it wouldn't be breaking. I mean, if they hire somebody, we'd notice it. But any rumors about interviews, that kind of stuff, I'll be paying attention to all of it, just not while I'm doing a show. All right, we're done. Thanks to Paul Peck for joining us. Thanks to everyone for listening. Thanks to Brian Janik from thefinancialguys.com for sponsoring Riter Radio. Thanks to Buffalo Trim, who's going to make me look passable for my stage debut at Brain Vault a week from tonight at the Kaz in South Buffalo. Tickets available at the top of the screen. There's a link, the top of the chat, I should say, or go to thekazbuffalo.com. I sent the link is a little more specific and gets you right to the thing. But if you just go there and look at shows and look for my face, you'll find me. Click on that. Buy tickets. Come to the show. Be a part of it. It'll be fun. And thanks to the financial guys overall who have agreed to be a part of the show. And I said, Buffalo Trim, give us a try. You won't go anywhere else. They're going to make me look pretty. Good, right? All right. Thank you for listening to episode 247 of Riter Radio. Yesterday's episode has not yet been posted. I had a lot of trouble with uploading. So as this show concludes, I think I got to figure it out, and I think we'll have yesterday's show up. I'm also going to post the conversation I had with Jay Skursky as a separate, whatever you want to call it, video / podcast. I'll probably put it on Spotify, just because that's a nice, tight, oh my God, this just happened moment. Plus, Jay looks great in the little caricature I put together of him on vacation with his sleeves cut off like a Belichick sweatshirt. I don't know why it did that. But he's got palm trees and water because he's supposed to be on vacation. And then it turned out they fired the coach. And he came on anyway, which was awesome. But that'll be posted separately. And then today's show will be posted. Follow on YouTube and on Spotify. Please share. Hit the notification thing on YouTube so that every time something happens, whether we go live or we post something, you'll be notified. It's very helpful to me as we continue to build Riter Radio here in Western New York. Okay, that's it for 247. Talk to you tomorrow at 10.